everybody, I'm Alice K. Ruckelhouse with SufferingWell, and today we're going to try to tackle the subject of penance on Fridays. Okay, so traditionally, for a couple thousand years, Catholics have abstained from flesh meat on Fridays. I've heard a lot of things about whether or not we're still required to do some kind of penance on Friday. And I'll tell you, looking around, it looks to me very confusing. The most definitive article that I could find was one by Catholic.com, and I'm going to link that below so that you can look at it. It looks to me like what they're saying is that the American bishops said, you're not required to do penance on most Fridays anymore. You still have to do them on certain ones like Good Friday, and there's a few others. But you're not required to do it, but they strongly urge Catholics to do some kind of penance on Friday, and they give the first preference to abstaining from meat. Okay, so at the very end of the article, though, it kind of sounds to me like he's saying that Rome says we still have to. So I'm not really sure what it means. And to be safe, I'm just going along with the idea that I have to do some kind of penance on Friday. I think that, and if you want to not do penance on Friday, I would do your own research. Don't just rely on what I'm saying. One of the things that I thought was really interesting when I was researching this, and this is what I wanted to share with you, is that it looks like the U.S. bishops are trying to encourage us to do penance because we want to. The penance on Friday, not other penances, but the penance on Friday because we want to, not just because we have to. In other words, to do it from our hearts. And I think that's really cool. One of the things that we at SufferingWell have been very fascinated with, I guess you would say, is the idea of doing reparation on Friday. So reparation is just offering something to God, kind of like to console his heart, to say, Lord, we're so sorry. Okay, but we're specifically at SufferingWell, we're specifically asking you to consider offering reparation for the world, because there's so much going on in the world right now that just grieves the Lord's heart. And we want to comfort him. We want to say, Lord, we are so sorry for the things that people in our world are doing. And sometimes that's us. A lot of times it's other people. Now, we should be doing our own penance for ourselves and going to confession for that. But for just the things in general in the world, we would like to offer up reparation. And so we'd like to ask you to join us in that, to use your Friday penance, especially if you do something extra, to offer that up for reparation for the sins of the world and for the grief that it causes our Lord. So we call that Friday Reparation, and you'll see that a lot of our videos, specifically the ones that come out on Fridays, will say Friday Reparation on them. That's because those are ones that we suggest you to use on Friday, either along with whatever kind of abstinence or penance you decide to do, or maybe that would be your abstinence or penance. And again, if I were you, I would do your research. If you're doing this instead of fasting or abstaining from meat, check it out and make sure that that's really what you can do. But you can definitely do it in addition to that. And so we just want to offer all of these. We started up a playlist. It only has, at this point, in August of 2023, it has 7 videos in it, but we're going to be adding those almost every Friday. At this point, most of them are fairly long. I think the shortest is like a little bit over 10 minutes. That's a chaplet that's just like straight through with no commentary. We have others that are chaplets with devotions at each devotional thoughts at each decade. And so those can take like 40 minutes. And then we have rosaries with the various mysteries, which we're still adding to, and a rosary that has commentary on it. We have a trafficking prayer, a prayer for children who are being trafficked, but also asking God to show us specifically what he wants us as individuals to do for that regard. And we have other prayers for different topics. And we'll be adding some shorter prayers in the future, so you can be watching for those. Some days when we have just a very short prayer, 2 things to keep in mind about that. One is Jesus said in Matthew, I think it's chapter 6, verse 7, but I'll put that below. that not to be like the Gentiles, using tons of words, thinking that they're going to be heard for their many words. That doesn't mean you can't use lots of words. If you have lots to tell God, then use lots of words. But sometimes, but don't think that that's just going to get God's attention more than if you just to say a short prayer. So there are times when we're going to offer very, very short prayers that take a minute. I think there's one that we're going to have that's like a few seconds, really. And those are just as powerful as the really long prayers. If you want to offer more than just a short prayer, that's where our playlist comes in. You could go through and just play a few prayers on the prayer list, and even make your own playlist from that for what you want to do for Friday Reparations. So there's lots of different things that you can do. And if you have any ideas, either things that you do that you want to share with others, or things that you would like us to talk about or to share prayers with you, go ahead and put those in the comments below too. If you go to the SufferingWell channel here on YouTube, and then you go to videos, I'm at the home right now, go to videos, then playlist. This is what you want, is playlist. You can go to playlist, and you'll see that we have one right here. It's the first one right now because we just created this today, but as we create other ones, it'll go farther down the list. So you may have to search for it, and it may not necessarily have this picture at the time that you're searching for it, but look for Friday Reparation right there. You can see where I've got my cursor going under it, Friday Reparation. And those are videos that you can use in your Friday Reparation. Now, honestly, just about anything that we have here on our SufferingWell channel would be appropriate to use on Fridays for reparation. Why? Because they're all about building up your faith. So you could use those, but on Fridays, we have things that are specifically geared towards Friday reparation, like prayers. We're going to have some where we're talking about ways that people help others, because acts of mercy would be a great way to supplement your Friday penance. And we'll have other ideas as well as we go on. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, of course, Fridays are not the only days that you can do these. There are things like chaplets and prayers and rosaries. You can do those any day, but we have them specifically under Friday Reparation because that's just what we're making them for. Oh, let me show you one other thing on this. When you look at Friday Reparation, you can see that they all have this same kind of cover here that's got this little archway thing over here. All these are on the right. We might start putting some on the left, so I don't want to guarantee that they'll always be on the right. There's that archway thing. So that's how you can easily find them if you go to our channel. So they may have different pictures, different colors, but they'll have that arch on them. All right, if you have any questions about that, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out the article that I'm linking from Catholic.com. It's an excellent article. They look at canon law and everything. It did leave me a little confused. So if you can come to a conclusion from it, maybe put that down in the comments below also. All right, I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.